Hey, it's Chase from Sorcery Contested Realm, and today I'm joined by two of our game designers, Sean and Rafa, and we're going to be talking about our multi-element threshold cards that you've seen revealed as part of our spoiler season here, and as well as showing up in our Arthurian Legends trailer. So we're really excited to talk about this, and we've got some other cool stuff coming just around the corner. So Rafa and Sean, I guess the real question I have for you to start is, why now? Why put multi-thresholds into sorcery at this time?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, and I think the biggest reason is that there are a couple, but like the biggest reason is that there's a perfect opportunity, and to use that as a feature that can really highlight the Knights of the Round Table. So it's easy, like when you have a big set and multiple cards within like one element. Maybe it's easy to kind of miss some of the knights or kind of give them enough importance. But since that's something we have been done before, right? So it's like fresh, new. That was such an easy way to really help make the knights feel even more special. Because not only they're getting like the multiple different threshold symbols on the card, they get to get an entire new frame that honestly feels, I mean, it just looks awesome and beautiful.
And these are the first kind of named characters that we've really done, right? It's not really the sorcery style to drill down to specific people or specific characters. And this, yeah, another really big way we can set them apart mechanically and visually.
Yeah, and the set is like it's all about that, or it's about the quests and the nights and adventures. So we thought that that would be a really kind of cool and special way to put them there in the spotlight of the set, and that translates really well when you're opening packs, right? You see that new frame you've never seen before, right? And that beautiful golden, it's just like so cool. And we got to even experience a little bit of that ourselves when we're um, initially testing that feature and the set as a whole, and even opening packs.
Yeah, especially when we're doing like test drafts and sealed play, and you're kind of like looking for those bombs, seeing if there's something you can build that deck around, and you're like, oh, okay, I see some gold there. Who's it going to be?
Exactly. Yeah.
How does the multi-elemental threshold symbols allow you to really translate the thematic elements into the game, right? How does it help you tell stories within the realm of sorcery?
It lets us kind of zoom in a lot more on specific stories and be able to represent things in a bit more of a granular level, I think. Um, in alpha or beta, if you took most of this card pool and looked at it through that lens, you'd probably be like, okay, these cards need to go in Earth because they're dealing with knights and the kingdom of men kind of thing. Um, Whereas here, obviously, we can't just throw everything in Earth. That would make for a terrible set.
Was that the
And
start?
so,
Was that a problem where you're like, let's make it nice and like Earth, 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 Earth? And you're like, oh no, oh dear.
well, you kind of come at it from the angle, right, of going, okay, up until this point, every time we make a knight, it's basically defaulting to Earth. So how are we going to approach these knights and not do that? And so you have to kind of reinterpret the elements a little bit. So instead of the four elements being specifically, okay, water is literally water, fire is literally fire, instead you have to start breaking that down into its kind of component pieces or a little bit more abstract and go, okay, well, maybe fire is, as we've mentioned in a couple of the taglines, it's like desire and destruction. So aggression and betrayal probably fit in there too. And so you might start looking at the knights and going, okay, sure, this person is very loyal to King Arthur and to the other knights of the Round Table, but they're very reckless. And every time they get into a fight, they kind of just charge in without thinking. So actually, we can represent them really well by making them a multi-element earth fire knight. And it gives us a very simple way on the card without adding, lines and lines and lines of special abilities. It gives us a way to start portraying some more of their story.
So I'm just imagining like you folks sitting around the office, bouncing around ideas, and you're like, "Oh, Tristan, oh yeah, that person today, they were such a fire earth person today. Oh my gosh, it's like its own like BuzzFeed news quiz thing or something where it's like find out what element are you."
What multi-element are you?
Yeah. Was it challenging to like take the elements and then have to re-envision them? Like, so fire, that's easy. That's like desire. You talked about that. Maybe anger, I would see things like that. What about, I guess, was it challenging at all to kind of translate those all to their emotional equivalents? Like, was there a one initially when you're like doing all the nights and you're like, like, is this night like watery? Like, what would be the, like, how do those kind of match up? I guess we did each element. So fire, we kind of figured that out. What lines up the other elements as far as like nightly components?
Yeah, I think we kind of had a clear vision in terms of like each element. Because that's something that like Eric had been working on for like years. And then when I joined the team, then like Mike joined the team, then Sean, like that's something we've been discussing and kind of like exploring and developing like further. But I think things get a bit trickier when you start mixing them up, especially potentially even like 3 elements, right? It's like, okay, I can see how this element and that element kind of combine to maybe express this concept or this idea, but like every now and then it can be a bit tricky. And we did face a couple of challenges with some of the named knights. Like some kind of felt easy enough to fit in a elemental combination, and kind of the team kind of agreed, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Whereas others were a bit challenging, like they're either because their story was maybe it didn't have like as inexpensive of a storytelling of like characteristics and features compared to some of the bigger names, for example. So that was a challenge. And one thing that helped us there was kind of like understand, like we start with this, like the big names or the stronger names. There's okay, like Sean say, okay, we have this very clear vision of Fire's identity here. Okay, so how can Fire kind of combine with the other 3 elements, right? So start exploring that. And looking at some of the big names and look at how they could fit into those combinations. And that really, really helped us there, because after that, it was a little bit more about, okay, can this fit there? Okay, we have a couple of spots left. And it's like, okay, well, how can we? And actually, the student had to go through the work of like, okay, is this compelling enough, right? Do you think that this fits within this combination? And we did some rearranging. At times, we kind of like, okay, we're almost getting there. And then it's like, hold on. This side, if you really look at it's like the main idea of his story, it doesn't actually fit super well in this like one spot. It's like, hey, back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I remember
and some of those stories get a little weird, though, right? Like, there's multiple tellings, and some of you are like, whoa.
Yeah, I remember having quite a few meetings where we would have like, we'd have a little graph up with all of the different pairings of elements, and us talking through, okay, who do we think fits over here? Who do we think fits over here? And trying to basically fill in the puzzle, because obviously we want it to be balanced between every different option. Mm-hmm. So if you're a air water player, you don't get underserved, whereas there's lots of earth air stuff. And so that was a bit of a challenge. And I remember going through quite a few different iterations of this map that we were working on. But luckily, Arthurian Legends, the Arthurian Legends themselves kind of help us here, because there are so many variations on tales about specific knights, where some earlier tales might paint them in one light, whereas later versions treat them a different way. And so we can kind of either lean into one or the other, or even start pushing them in a kind of our own take a little bit, with inspiration from all of their existing work. But yeah, as a place to draw lore from, Arthurian Legends has surprisingly got quite a bit of wiggle room.
Well, let's talk about one of the knights in particular. So we've had a few revealed now. People have been zooming and enhancing on the trailer by now, and and just recently Cardboard Guide revealing Sir Tristan. But let's actually focus on Sir Percival. That was in the trailer. How did the elements there represent your approach and understanding of that character? Like, how did you take that legend and manifest it into sorcery?
Yeah, Percival is interesting. As I was talking before, we tried to create these kind of groupings of knights for certain elemental pairs. And so Percival, luckily enough, fits very nicely into this set, which is kind of the what I think of as the Grail Knights set. While there are a lot of people who went questing for the Grail, there are only a very limited number that you could say were successful. Percival being one of them. And so here in the Earth-Air combination, we find one of our Grail Knights. Percival mechanically then fits this really well because we have these themes of loyalty and strength in terms of his combat prowess. So that gives him some Earth influence, but then also the kind of ambition and that seeking nature, which brings in the air side. And mechanically, that can be represented quite easily here. So you can see he's got some very good stats, great attack and defense power on there. But at the same time, his abilities are all to do with moving around the realm and going on his particular quest. And so really good kind of pairing of those two elemental identities.
On the more technical side, when we get into kind of the gameplay component, how do, I know maybe it sounds weird to ask this, but like, how do multi-elemental threshold cards like actually work? For example, if I played Crusade and that buffs an Earth card, if I play a Earth Fire multi-elemental spell, is that unit that I played, is that an Earth card or is that a Fire card or is it a multi-elemental card? Is that like a totally separate category? Mechanically, how does that like work in the game?
So it is the multi-element spell, right? It has more than one element, so it is the multi-element spell in that sense, but it's to an Earth spell and a Fire spell, right? It's to one spell, but it is both elements, like the one you mentioned, right? Or Percival that we're just talking about now. If it has the Earth and the Air threshold, it's both an Earth and Air card. And for the Crusade question, exactly, right? So if I had an Earth Fire minion in play within the affected locations of the Crusade, then it would get the +1 power because it is seen as an Earth card or an Earth minion.
Yeah, and you could even stack up if you had Crusade and Jihad both affecting the same location.
Oh,
it counts as an Earth and it counts as a Fire card. You could get double the bonus.
I suppose though, Earth Fire players out there.
Yeah, I think we haven't revealed anything like that yet, though, so we'll have to wait and see. But who knows? Well, I love the actual like layout of the cards for multi-elemental cards that we have here. Like the framing is beautiful. Does this mean now that we've introduced this into Arthurian Legends that all future sets will have multi-elemental threshold spells?
Very likely. I mean, it's now it's a piece of design that we can continue to use. But in saying that, because of some of the design challenges we've talked about, it's probably not going to be as prevalent as it is in Arthurian Legends. And here we really wanted to double down on it because it's a way for us to kind of show and group these cards together and basically say, yep, these are the main characters of the set. These are the Knights of the Round Table. Kind of pay attention.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it. So if it shows up again, there's always a chance there would be probably like something special. Maybe try to convey a concept that like transcends a single element individually, right?
Mm-hmm. And do you think that, does the multi-elements like opens up things so much thematically, right? For us to explore and bring things in and do like another layer of storytelling. How does it impact the playing of the game when it comes to formats like limited or like any sort of sealed play drafts?
That was a bit of a challenge for us when we're developing this set, where they're special. There's special cards. They need to be powerful, right? We try to make them like look cool and play well. But it's also something that, like, okay, if I'm giving you those 3, 4, 5 cards, they're all locked into this elemental combination. We just don't want you to, like, okay, yeah, they're the most powerful cards. So all of a sudden the whole deck is like multi-element spells. So you had to, like, okay, how do we approach that challenge, right, in terms of design? And one of the angles we kind of took was to not necessarily have them all be very synergistic with one another. So that maybe there's this Earth Air deck that is trying to do this one thing, and yeah, that one knight should be great in there. Oh, and there's this other one trying to do a different thing. Oh, the other knight would like be great in there, right? So that was one of the things. And in terms of sealed and draft in the limited format, that would also be there was also something interesting, because we have, okay, we need to, like, one of the things we've been trying to not fix but improve upon was the threshold system as a whole. That's something that Alpha taught us a lot in terms of design, and that's something that now we're working on that, we're improving that, but now we're also facing this challenge of, like, we're also now dealing with, like, 2 different threshold territory, which is different from, like, 2 of the same. Like, those are like a fire and a water one, and then like 2 water thresholds, like 2 thresholds, one could argue, but there's actually, like, there are different patterns and different challenges there in terms of, like, game balance, and, like we're saying, even like in the context of a limited format.
Yeah, sealed is quite interesting because obviously you get to look at the whole pool, pick out a couple of those like bomb cards, and then choose which one you want to build around. But there is absolutely an element of chaos that I like in the draft, especially when you kind of, like, you've gone through the first pack and then you open up the second one, and you're like, pull out some insane knight, and you're like, do I pivot now or do I let this go and, like, someone else is going to pick it up and absolutely ruin my day later on with this?
Yeah, you might see it again, right?
You will see it again.
Across the
The knights get played when they get pulled, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then you get the other side of that, which is, and this has happened to me a couple of times, where you'll get to the third pack and you'll open it up, and it will just happen to be the knight that matches the colors that you've been drafting, and you're like,
that is the grail in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited for people to actually get to start playing Arthurian Legends on, October 4th on the worldwide release. But before we go, we've got a lot of spoilers coming up next week. Make sure to check our spoiler schedule on SorceryTCG.com or check on the pinned post in our Facebook group. But before we go, I got a little bit of a hot seat question for the both of you. A little surprise here.
Okay.
If you were going to have your own elemental threshold, what would be your describing threshold? What would be... Let me start with Rafa. I'll catch you off guard the most.
My element... I would say that I'll be an earth. Does it have to be 2, or can it be mono element? Or
No. You can't do mono element on a multi-threshold.
I'm a simple person. Okay. So maybe I would be earth. That is a very difficult question, Chase. I guess it'd be earth and...
The meaner version was to have you do each other, but I didn't want to start. Air,
maybe. I'm thinking earth, air. Yeah, because I'd say that I'm a kind of like a grounded person, and just like the simple things of life, like eating good food and stuff.
So I like a lightning pun.
But at the same time, like air, because I do appreciate a lot about I don't know, just like learning new things. There's a bit of like traveling around the world and getting to know different people. There's a little bit of that ambition of air and like the pursuit of knowledge. So yeah, maybe I'll be joining Sir Percival and the team there.
Not
You
bad
double Earth,
company.
one air.
You almost said something else. So Percival, who knows what else is out there?
First one, who knows?
Sean, how about you?
So Percival and friends. I was very tempted to just give you no context and just like say something like mic drop and leave. I think I'm gonna go double water, one earth.
Double water, one earth. Oh man. Okay.
There we go.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Say bye. Boom. Yeah. Guys, I don't know what mine would be.
The trigger of water. Just leave.
The trickery.
Yeah.
Actually, I was more thinking about the water being the element of evolution and adaptation.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
That makes sense.
cool.
I don't know what would be mine. I feel like is there a playful? Doesn't I don't know if I consider myself grounded. I think whimsical, maybe. So water, perhaps. I feel like I don't know. We've revealed some fake cards, but there were a few in there. I was like, "Oh, that's fun. I like that."
I think maybe you'd get the water and air combination, perhaps.
There we go. Okay, perfect. Well,
You've got the charm.
Oh, is that? Where's the rugged good looks of Earth, though? Perhaps I need or something. No. Let us know in the comments, what do you think your elemental thresholds would be? I feel like there's definitely some sort of like quiz thing in here that people could do.
Yeah.
But we're excited to hear what people think. And stay tuned. Next week, we have a few more spoilers coming up. And we're going to reveal maybe something cool mechanically about Arthurian Legends. So you don't want to miss out. And in the meantime, thanks for checking in, everybody. I hope you're having fun and good luck contesting the realm.